One of my favorite quotes is trauma blocks love and love heals trauma. But I'm also aware that trauma binds us. We are connected through trauma. Yes, trauma can block who we are, can block our sense of self, and it is our sense of self that heals. But if we think about it, trauma also connects us. Let me tell you a story that really illustrates this from my perspective. We had a family wedding about 1.5 years ago, and it was a family wedding that happened down south. I'm from the north, so there's this north-south difference. And growing up in the Midwest in Chicago, there was a big political divide in my family. There was very few people that were liberal, and there was a whole bunch of them that were conservative. So I'm going down south to a family wedding in total conservative land. One of the things that I was kind of nervous about was sitting down one point at breakfast with my brother-in-law, who is totally on that other side. He was somebody who had been to the Capitol during the insurrection. And let me tell you, I was dreading sitting down and having breakfast with him. But something kind of came over me. And this was really just right after the release of my second book called Transcending Trauma, which is where I really got aligned with my purpose in the world. And something really came over to me. I thought, this could be another one of those breakfasts where we have nothing to talk about. It's totally superficial. Or I can send him love and compassion. And I did. And I just said to him, I was like, I'm just here to make the world a better place. I'm just here to not be so us and them about everything. I think we're more connected than we are different. And much to my surprise, it really affected him. It shifted his energy. He shifted the way he would typically talk to me, which would be about pushing his point, pushing the reason why his side was right. And you know what he said to me? He said, Frank, I think you're a bigger person than I am. And then he kind of felt a little bad about himself, but then he slipped into why he felt bad about himself. And he started telling me about his trauma history. He told me about the ways that he was treated badly growing up, the way he was beaten, the way he was yelled at, the way he was shamed. And it was in that moment that I realized we have a lot more in common than we are different. I am someone with a trauma history, and I was treated very similarly to the way my brother-in-law was. And it was in that moment, in that hotel room in Mississippi, that I really embodied and felt the ways that even though on the surface it looks like we're so different, we were much more connected than either of us had ever known before. And you know what was really surprising after we finished this breakfast? He asked me if I would be willing to get him a copy of my book and sign it for him. That was so unheard of for him. He also stood up and he hugged me. The first time since I've known this guy, he's been in our family for, 20 years, hugged me. And it was a moment of bonding and connecting through our trauma. My name is Frank Anderson, and I am a psychiatrist and a psychotherapist. And I realized after that moment, after the release of my book, that my purpose in life is to heal trauma. I'm not the only one that's going to do this. A lot of people in this network of healing trauma. We are all connected by trauma. It bounds us and it binds us. And I think it is my purpose and many of our purposes to be part of the solution here, to see the ways we're connected, to see the ways we're connected through trauma, to see the ways we're connected through the resiliency of the human spirit, and to be able to heal on a global level. I want to teach you a little bit of something right now that's related to trauma, and it has to do with neurobiology and what we call the trauma network or the vertical network. So what ends up happening is this. When we experience something overwhelming, we receive it from our body. Our body is like the first responder, if you will, to something overwhelming and traumatic. And information from the body comes up through nerve cells into a part of the brain called the thalamus. The thalamus takes all of our sensory information and determines where in the brain it should go. So when it's emotionally laden, when it's overwhelming by nature, the thalamus takes information and sends it to the limbic system. First, within the amygdala. The amygdala, most people think of as our fear center. It's not where fear is only located, but very quickly and unconsciously, information comes through the amygdala. And more slowly, it goes up into the medial prefrontal cortex or the frontal lobes. So emotional information comes up through the limbic system. It's processed around fear and emotion. The hippocampus brings information in, which is learning and memory. The information moves up through the right hemisphere and then gets processed in the prefrontal cortex. So the information comes up through the body, through the thalamus, quickly and unconsciously to the amygdala, up into the prefrontal cortex. We process the information and we determine the appropriate response. And then that information goes right back down to the body. So information gets received, moves up, gets processed, and then goes back down. Now, during trauma, sometimes certain of these key structures get blocked, totally shut down. Sometimes the prefrontal cortex gets shut down. Sometimes the hippocampus gets shut down. So different structures under different circumstances get shut down and don't let us appropriately process information that comes into us. So knowing a little bit more about what happens in the brain, in the body, when somebody is receiving information from trauma can really help us make different decisions. I like to think about neuroscience-informed therapeutic decision-making because, in fact, if somebody doesn't have access to their emotional centers, have access to their limbic centers, we will have a different therapeutic intervention compared to somebody who has no access to their prefrontal cortex. If their prefrontal cortex is shut down in that moment, you as a therapist can lend your client your prefrontal cortex. I'll give you my prefrontal cortex so you don't have one accessible or online. Same thing emotionally. If our client's hippocampus and amygdala are shut down, their emotional centers are shut down, we're going to be more emotionally available and more present for them in a way that can help them because they don't have access to those structures at that point in time. And this is really helpful as a therapist to know what's going on within the brain. You don't take it personally when somebody's freaking out. You don't take it personally when somebody's shut down. You know that neurobiology, you know certain structures are not working, and you can be open and receptive to helping them in a different way and not taking it personally and not reacting to them or getting frustrated by them. So let me give you just a quick clinical example to help illustrate what I just talked about. So if somebody's freaking out and they're overwhelmed, they're like activated, they don't have access to their prefrontal cortex. And what I would do in a situation like that, or what I have done in situations like that, is really give them my prefrontal cortex. I would say something like this: you're having a difficult time. I could really see that. I will put into words and process the information in a way that they can't. For example, there was one client that came into my office and was just totally freaking out. And I was a little bit taken aback right off the bat, but I was like, I don't know what's going on with this person, and I have no idea what's going on. I just was with them. I held space for them. Lots going on for you right now. I know you're not going to be in this space all the time. I am here for you and available to hold whatever you need me to hold. I want you to know I'm ready and available to be with you in the ways that you need me. And I know you're going to be able to recover. I lent them my prefrontal cortex because they didn't have access to one. Same thing when somebody doesn't have access to their amygdala or their emotional centers. They can either be frozen in fear or they can be totally shut down. It's really easy in a situation like that to get frustrated by someone because they're shut down, they're not responding, and you can't connect to them. In those situations, I step back and I just know that they're in a dangerous zone. They're shut down because physiologically they feel dangerous. And I would say something like this: I'm here for you in any way you need. You take as much time as you need. You're in charge. You're in control. Just know that I'm here for you. And I sit and I wait and I don't push. I'm quiet, I'm calm, and I'm available. And what will happen over time is their body moves. They twitch. And I see that their system has come back online. Top-down shutdown brings bottom-up interventions. And as soon as I see their body move, then I know they're back online. And then we can have a discussion around what just happened right there. But I'm not reactive. I'm not pushy. I'm not trying to ask many questions. I'm holding space in a loving way until their system feels safe enough to be able to come back online. So as I said earlier, I think trauma has a way to block love and connection, and trauma has a way to bind us together, connect us in ways that are super important and often mysterious and unknown. We know that neuroscience has a way to explain what's going on inside of somebody's brain and in their body, and there's a solution to this problem. Come and join me and the Academy of Therapy Wisdom to learn how to handle this and how to deal with this. There is this thing in all of us called self-energy. And in this course, we dive into all the different dimensions of that and how we access it, how it's connected in the larger world to be able to heal trauma. The mission to heal trauma is bigger than any one of us. It is certainly my mission, and I can imagine that all of you out there are also grappling with the very same thing. There is so much trauma and overwhelm in the world today. I think we create together an interconnected web of individuals, those of us who see what's happening in the world and those of us who want to be a part of the solution. Come join me. Together, we can do what we need to do to turn things around, bring more love, compassion, and unity to the world.